How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the Agora Day 2 developer session, the Agora AMA. We're here to answer all your questions, so feel free to pop your questions into the questions tab. I want to thank everyone for joining me today. It's been a great day of developer sessions, and we're really excited to answer all your questions here in the AMA. I'd like to introduce some of the Agora team joining me. So we have Shankara. He's a senior manager of solutions architecture. We have Ben Weeks, who's a senior solutions architect. We have Vineeth, who's a developer evangelist and app builder lead. Sid, who's a senior director of developer relations and partnerships. Joining me, guys. We'll give everyone a moment to get on stage.
Thanks for having us.
Yep.
Hey, thank you for having us.
Perfect. So one of the biggest questions we get when people first get introduced to Agora is, how do I get started? And the quickest and easiest way is to go to the developer relations page through the Agora website. Here we have the documentation link, API reference, quick link to FAQs, SDK downloads, the Agora official GitHub, our community GitHub, which is projects created by our community of developers that have noteworthy code snippets and other examples that we want to share, the Agora Slack channel, the Stack Overflow, and most importantly, when you're running into an issue, ticket button. So as we on the page, there's some quick guides to getting started, to start building, such as basic calls, interactive streaming, our no-code solutions, such as App Builder and the UI, and integration guides. So if you're unhappy with your current provider, we show you how to get over to Agora. And with that, I'd like to start the AMA session. Where everyone went. To start off, I think we already have one question from Jerry Norton. Jerry, while this question is very interesting, it does seem to be very platform specific. So we'd like to understand a little bit more about what platform are you using? Is this an Android question? Is this an Android, IoT, or Linux based? If you don't follow up in here, you can always email devrel@agora.io to find out more information or to get more answers. So to start, let's start with some simple quality issue questions that we get pretty frequently, such as, how can I fix a black screen? Shankara, can you help?
Sure, we can talk about black screens. So black screens is something you never want to see, but unfortunately you will. It's part of development. You'll run into these kind of issues. So we do have a full FAQ on this. You can check our FAQ online. It has a full list of reasons why you may run into black screen. Just real quick to give sort of an overview. It can happen on the local side because of camera permission issues. So make sure, especially if you're in the browser, that you're able to actually acquire the hardware. On the remote side, if you see a black screen, it can be for a number of reasons. A bad token, a bad encryption key, and I say bad, I mean some kind of mismatch. When you apply an encryption key on the publish side and on the downlink side, you want to make sure that these match, and for different application logic reasons, they may not. So these are just some reasons. I'm not going to go super in depth on all the different reasons why you'll see a black screen, but definitely check out the FAQ. And make sure that just some of these basic things are in place and working. There are tons of reasons why, even if you have everything in place, you have your camera, you have your token properly set, you have your encryption key properly set. There are still a ton of reasons why you may run into black screens. And always reach out through our support system, and we can help you on specific issues. Was that good, Hermes, or should I?
Perfect,
okay,
Shankara.
cool.
Thank you so much. So another really frequently asked question that we get all the time is, Why is my video choppy? Sid, can you help us out?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, there's similar to the black screen issue, right? There's quite a few different reasons why you could get choppy video. Thankfully, the Agora SDRTN, really optimizes for poor network quality and is able to get those last mile connections, no matter where you are, no matter, what your network connection is like for the most part. However, there will be times, obviously, video is a very tricky topic, and there will be times that there's choppy, video and audio, and most times it seems to be like a local network issue, local, on the local stream side. And to counter that, what you can do is implement with our 3.x SDK. You can implement dual stream. So when you do have a poor network connection, you can go ahead and send a stream with lower bitrate and resolution, and optimize the connection for the audio as well. So you can actually fall back to audio. With our 4.x SDK that was just released in developer preview yesterday, actually, that comes with the very fancy extension marketplace. It also comes with NASA 2, which is our network acceleration streaming, or sorry, network adaptive streaming solution. And basically, you don't have to implement any sort of manual fallback or manual dual stream logic. It'll take care of that for you. But if you still are having any other issues, please do reach out, and we'll help figure that out. You can also take a look at your Agora Analytics dashboard and see which user actually has that poor network connection, and get more insights on the different users that are in your call, and what external forces may have caused the issue.
Perfect. Thank you, Sid. So I see the questions tab is filling up. Okay, so let's get started with some of these here. We have a question from Fabian Montaga. Fabian. I'm not going to butcher your last name. I do apologize. He asked, how do you implement Chromecast and/or AirPlay feature for audience? Does anyone want to volunteer for that one?
I don't see the question. What was the question? How do you
implement Chromecast and AirPlay? I can take this one. I've seen this one quite a few times in the chats, and the best way right now is to implement an RTMP solution where you can get an HLS stream to pull into Chromecast or AirPlay, because both of them require an HLS or RTMP stream. You can't use just like a raw UDP video stream or anything like that. You have to pass it a server URL for the underlying operating system to pull down. So that's going to be probably your simplest bet. We're currently evaluating your SDKs to extend the incredible metaverse world. I'm searching without success on details how to use the messaging API or other web API can be used to produce analytics of all my IM sessions. So, Carmelo, in terms of metaverse world, the real-time messaging API allows you to coordinate between users in real time, allow the devices to synchronize themselves and to communicate without having to have that back-end server to keep track of everything. So if you were hoping to use some storage or whatever, you'd have to, I think, implement that yourself. Or Shankara, do we have any sort of storage APIs for RTM that you could save it to your own server?
What do you mean by storage APIs? Do you mean in terms of the usage data, like analytical sort of data, or the content itself? So the way I would interpret the question is because with the RTC SDK, you can log into Agora Analytics and you get all sorts of information, right? We don't really have that for RTM yet. And maybe I'm misreading the question. I don't know. Correct me if I'm not getting this right. But it sounds like what he's asking is there a way, like with the RTC analytical data, to log into the console and get that information, which with RTM, we don't have that yet. It's something that's on the roadmap and that we'll eventually release. But yeah, it's not there yet.
Yeah, and we also have a Agora chat, beta coming out that does have. If your question is really around message storage, we do have Agora chat capabilities coming out in a beta pretty soon. So if you're interested, please feel free to reach out to devrel@agora.io, and we can keep you in the loop for that. And that does include chat history as well. So if your question is around analytics or the chat history, please do reach out, and we can get some proper timelines to you. But I just wanted to flag that.
Yeah, and Sid, thanks for bringing that up, because we also have that with RTM. We do have a history feature that you can enable when you send a message. When you send a message, you set a configuration flag, and it'll store it in the history.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that detailed explanation, both Sid and Shankara. Jerry Norton, you got a ton of questions, and while we can't answer the IoT one right now, I do encourage you to reach out to devrel@agora.io, and we can connect you to someone that can help better answer that. But to answer, oops, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. You can answer. I see a couple questions that I think we can.
Yeah. I was going to go to another one that Jerry had asked around the plans to do peer-to-peer, and you can't really reduce the delay to less than 400 milliseconds. Right now, the way Agora works, to best optimize the connections between the peers, everything kind of has to run through our network system. And in that case, if you're on a local network, you're most likely going to want to create, there's a lot of frameworks for doing local area network connections, and you'd probably want to detect that if you're really, hitting that wall of 400 milliseconds and it's not acceptable. You'll probably want to have your own workaround for the local network, and then allowing the external users to connect through the Agora network, because that way the Agora network can really maintain the peer connectivity for outside the local network. Sid or Shankara, is there anything else maybe I missed?
Yeah, P2P is possible, but again, then we will route it to our network when needed, as Hermes said. We don't really. I think the secret sauce is all in the network itself. And that's why we do prioritize those connections. I don't think 400 milliseconds is, the least we can go, though. We've definitely done, depending on your use case and what you're trying to, enable. If it's a live broadcast, maybe, but if it's a video call, we can definitely bring it down. So, I'd be curious to understand more about your use case and your geos, right? What geos are you serving? I think there's a bunch of different factors on what type of latency you're getting, and how we can bring that down. So if there's anything in particular there, again, feel free to reach out or ask another question to provide more context there in terms of the geos that you support and the latency that you're looking for.
Yeah, and I would just add to that usually when people ask for peer-to-peer, they're talking about a one-on-one use case. Outside of one-on-one, it starts to make less and less sense to do peer-to-peer. Also to something Sid sort of touched on or Hermes, the point of the Agora network is to provide the best experience for the most users most of the time, right? I mean, when we talk about numbers like 400 milliseconds, 200 milliseconds, I mean, these are averages or what do you call them? Percentiles of performance that different percentages of users are hitting, right? So the general Agora use case of a one-to-many or few-to-many or many-to-many works pretty well with the SDRTN, right, for most users most of the time. When it comes to very specific use cases, like I have two endpoints, they only talk to each other, and I'm doing like 1080p or something crazy like that, or I don't want to say the other numbers above that. Then sometimes P2P starts to make sense, but reach out over support, and we can try to help you with those kind of edge or unusual use cases.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shankara. And again, if you're reaching out, devrel@agora.io. We're happy to field your questions and connect you to the right people internally. We have a lot more questions coming through, so how do we want to pull this one? Emmanuel, Fabian, Amaya, and Randy. Randy, looking at your question, please provide us a little bit more information. I don't quite understand about one user can drop call.
I think I do, and I think that's the real beauty of the 4.0 SDK actually that introduces NASA too. The adaptive, the adaptive streaming, kind of solution that we've introduced. That if one user has a poor connection, yes, typically with most vendors, and even in some cases with our 3.x SDK, you will see it may deteriorate the other connections a little bit, and then try to restabilize. But with NASA 2, it will only affect the party that actually has the poor network connection. So I think that's the real advancement that we made with that introduction. So if you're interested in trying our beta or developer preview, I guess it's called, you can go ahead and try it out. It's available for iOS and Android today, and the other platforms will be coming out very shortly within the next 1 month or so. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Awesome. Thanks, Sid. Randy, I hope this answers your question. If not, feel free to ask another one. Bill has a question about the Unity API. So, Alfred, can we get Rick on the stage? And whenever Rick's on the stage, we'll get Bill's question asked. Amaya, we've heard that there may be an extended number of speakers allowed in a session on the Web SDK roadmap. As a company looking to create two-way streaming for large groups, we're constrained by the 18 speaker limit. Any updates you can share? Amaya, you're in luck. I recently spoke to the product team. Right now, there is no concrete date, but it is slated for Q4. That's all I can say for web. If you want to reach out to devrel@agora.io, we'd be happy to get you into whatever beta becomes available when it becomes available. Other than that, there are some other ways you can get around the 18-person limit where you use multi-channel broadcasting. So you have users in multiple channels, they subscribe to multiple channels, and to the end user, it'll feel like they're all in one channel, but under the hood, it's multiple channels. The one thing you have to be very cautious of is you're going to be downstreaming a lot of video. So you're going to want to use things like selective subscription and lower video profiles or stream fallbacks with jumping back to the lowest stream in order to better handle, multiple channels like that. I hope that answers your question. If not, again, please feel free to ask again. Bill,
yeah, I'll just add that
sorry,
sorry, Hermes, a little bit of a delay. Just wanted to add real quick that we do have a public demo that actually Ben had authored that is available in our GitHub that shows how to use multiple channels to go beyond the normal 17 limit. And with web, the plan is to have 32 as the increased number, just FYI.
Awesome. Thank you, Shankara, for that insight. See, you learn something new every day. Bill, we have Rick here on stage with us to help answer your Unity API question. It says the Unity API has a channel profile game option, but there's a note. Agora does not recommend using this setting. Can you explain why issues?
Yeah, so different profiles have internal settings for noise cancellation, echo cancellation, and some other specific device-specific settings. We have found that this special profile will cause some device lose the audio, so you can't hear anything from your peer on some devices. We don't recommend to use this, and this profile will be deprecated soon.
So it's kind of just there because of legacy reasons. So that's why we don't recommend having you use it. Bill, hope that answered your question. If not, feel free to ask a follow-up. Randy, AV1 was revealed to be available yesterday on this Kodak session. Is this on PC? When? How can we test this? And then Jerry follows up with, same as Randy for H265. Shankara, I think this is probably an area that you know a little bit more than.
So when we say PC, I'm assuming we mean Windows. But in any case, if you go and you look inside of the header files, here, I'll tell a secret. Go look inside the header files. You'll see that the object that you pass into set video encoder, it actually has a parameter for codec type. So, and if you go and check that enum, you'll see the different codecs enumerated. Now, this is not in the public docs. I know it was revealed during a session during RTE. I don't think it's in the public docs yet. But yeah, if it's available for the platform you have in mind, you'll find it in the headers. And I know it is available. H.265 and AV1, I believe, are available on PC Windows right now.
Awesome. And if you have more questions around that, again, please feel free to email devrel@agora.io.
Yeah, and just the last thing I'll add is the reason that they are not in the public docs yet is because this is sort of a, we wanted to release these kind of things during RTE because they're very much in demand. It's going to help a lot of use cases, unblock a lot of projects. But the reason it's not in the public docs is because it likely hasn't been fully QA'd. And if you run into any kind of issues, just reach out and we'll help try and resolve them, and we are glad to take feedback on any testing or things you run into.
Awesome. Thanks, Shankara. We have another question from Fabian. How do we customize player controllers for audience, like volume?
Sure. I can take this up. Yeah. So it depends basically on the platform that you are thinking about. But let's say if it's web, the approach is like pretty simple because Agora internally uses like just HTML5 players, right? So we add a bunch of custom CSS to sort of like hide all of the players, and like you won't get the controls like out of the box. But if you do want to do that, like it's just like you just have to override the CSS, and there you go. Like you have the entire like like the HTML5 video player with you, and then from that point on, like you can refer like MDN docs or like any docs which refer to how HTML5 players work or how the like the thing is structured, and based on that like you can customize like your player however you want, style it with any themes, like it's all just CSS, man, at the end of the day. Yeah, so that's for web. I hope like your question was for web.
Another thing to note on web, whenever you get the stream object for 3.x, you can also use that. The stream object .stream what is it? .source or something like that is you can then append that to a video source and kind of do your own rendering, so you can really control the video element. In 4.x, it's a lot easier because you have access directly to the tracks, so you can construct your own video element there and put in player controls.
Yep.
The other side of it is you could allow use RTM to have certain controls in the audience feedback to the broadcaster to give feedback. I'm not sure if that's what you meant either, but if it is, please feel free to ask more questions.
Just to add to what you just said, Hermes, like I think that's a wonderful idea, and like you said, it has a lot of useful use cases. So just to go a bit more deeper into that and talk about those APIs. They internally those APIs like it's called Media Stream API, and it's a browser level API that's available in all browsers, implemented by all browsers. So the Agora SDK builds on top of that, right? So what we do provide you with is like escape hatches to like go down go a level down and access that core objects. So that's what Hermes was talking about, right? Like once you get access to those media stream objects, then you can construct any random HTML5 video player and use a property called .src object, and then you just say src object equals to this media stream. There you go. So you have like your media stream, like transported by Agora but rendered by you, like entirely. So yeah, that's cool.
And on native, there's similarly, you can subscribe and unsubscribe to the remote streams. You can control them with audio playback controls, right, Shankara and Sid? You can also do like your own client-side rendering, so you can.
Yep, exactly.
You can do a fully custom renderer. Yep.
I can take the next one.
Hey guys, just real quick before we move on to the next question. Sorry, just wanted to throw something out there before I lose it. I got a note on the AV1 support that it works under screen share. So so keep that in mind if you are looking at AV1. And with H.265, one important consideration is that there is licensing around H.265 that is not handled within the Agora dashboard. So if you are going to go to production with H.265, then talk to someone on our sales side. We'll help guide you on some of the licensing requirements around it. So just important note on that. Sorry, Sid, go ahead.
No, it's definitely an important note. So I'm glad you flagged it. The next question I want to take actually is on the voice SDKs. Do you agree that the NG next gen is better and ready to use than version 3.x, the current legacy version, I guess, or the long-term stable version as we refer to it now? This is a developer preview, so I do want us to be cautious about how we're approaching this. The sentiment around it is it's definitely much more robust, much more extensible, and that's why you see things like with the video SDK, for example, 1080p 60 frames per second, 4K 30 frames per second support, extension marketplace support. There's a whole bunch of things that went into refactoring the core engine and making it future-proof and optimizing it for a variety of different use cases and even some new features. However, there will be bugs. I want to preface by saying this is a developer preview. We need the community and the support of the community to adopt this and help us improve. But this has been heavily tested. This has been implemented in some live applications as well. But I do want to precaution that this is in preview, so we just want to make sure that and yes, even the media creation is really simplified. Exactly. So there's a lot of improvements made. So please do try it out, Carmelo, and let us know. Feel free to reach out if there's any questions, bugs, issues, you need a flag. We want to be very collaborative in making this next gen core engine as optimal as we can.
Awesome. Thanks, Sid, for that insight. Next, we have another one about AV1. I'll give this one to Shankara. Would love to know which encoder for AV1 you're supporting, AO or SVT or both. Is this a better question for future?
So I think this is something that, to be honest, I don't have the answer for. Maybe someone will shoot me a note before the session ends. But yeah, I'm not sure. I'll find out.
So if we don't answer your question now, please email us at devrel@agora.io and we'll look internally and speak to the right teams to get you that information. Carmelo, any idea on the time frame for a first official non-dev preview release of this NG SD?
Yep. So, it's fluid. Right now what we're looking at is a beta period of, GA, probably six months or so. Depends on, how fast it's adopted and how comfortable we feel with, all of the different use cases that we're seeing with it. So, the timeline is fluid, but right now it's around a 6-month preview. So that'll be the first official 4.0 SDK, probably sometime in February or March.
And the more people that use it, the faster we can help bring it to market because we can find more issues, more bugs, get everything sorted out. This is going to be a big change, more so under the hood than in terms of the API, but we're going to see a lot of improvements from the previous legacies. So we do encourage everyone to give it a shot.
Awesome. Well, we got one. Carmelo will try it out and let us know. So, please feel free to join our Slack channel as well. We want to keep the feedback and issues transparent to the community, and that way we can help other developers out if they're facing the same issue and prioritize that way. So definitely looking forward to working with you, Carmelo.
Awesome. Thanks, Carmelo. Max asks, what about SDKs for the NG, what about desktop SDKs for the NG developer preview?
Yep. So desktop SDKs will be probably towards the end of October, early November. We're looking at for Windows support and Mac support. Right now, we're prioritizing from a really thinking about our developer community, right? In terms of where we see the most adoption and traction and what users are requesting for the specific use cases. However, we have identified, for example, some of the core features, 1080p, 60 frames per second, 4K, 30 frames per second. Those aren't really feasible on a mobile screen, right? So obviously, I think there is some reprioritization work that is still being done, but we will have desktop support relatively soon, within a couple months at the max.
Perfect. Thanks, Sid, for that insight. Emmanuel asks, what is the best strategy to use Agora for a multi-tenant platform? Is there a way to create an isolated context for each tenant in order to have more control, especially over analytics? Having hundreds of clients, it's not sustainable to create a different Agora project for each one. So, Emmanuel, I think oops, sorry, Sid, did you want to jump in?
No, I was maybe you have a better understanding. I'm a little confused. Is this like similar to like a dev agency building a bunch of Agora related projects and managing them, or are you kind of managing the, I guess, end-to-end Agora implementation as well as the analytics and kind of customer success for your clients on the Agora side? I'm just a little confused on the question.
I think that's a strong assumption. We could just assume that this is a developer agency. They want to build it in as, or maybe not a developer agency, but it's a platform that allows, enterprises to connect. And if you want to have premium voice and video, you enable Agora.
Yep.
But with that, it should come with analytics and that sort of information. So do you want to answer this, or?
Yeah, you go for it. I'll chime in after.
Awesome. I think if you're looking to create a platform that has Agora implemented and integrated in such an intimate way, we could definitely help you and meet you there. We have enterprise packages just for that, where you can have APIs to connect in and create projects through programmatic channels, how to generate users, how to pull billing and analytics data into your platform. For that, we definitely encourage you to reach out to devrel@agora.io, and we can connect you to the teams for that. Sid, please chime in. And
yeah, I do see. I think Frank mentioned it's a reseller platform. So I think the best way to go about it is probably having either multiple accounts or multiple projects within one account. And if the limitation is really that you're facing with the feasibility of new projects, creating new projects and all that stuff and maintaining them. I know there is a limit for, every developer. I think there's 10 projects that you can go ahead and have. Though that is a, soft limit. We can increase that right away. So if it's not really on managing a bunch of different projects, rather more so around, some of the limitations around it, that can be fixed. So please do reach out and let us know. And we're happy to work with you.
Awesome. Thanks, Sid.
One thing around this, maybe it's pointed to Sid. When do you think it's a great idea to refer people to our own reseller program, right? Like we internally have a program dedicated to resellers. So when does it go from this to that? Like basically that's just to make the distinction clear.
Yeah, I think they are working. From what I understand, they are working with Frank on the reseller program already. So yeah, that is a good call out. If if you aren't already working with the Agora team on the official reseller program that we have with the revenue share model, please do reach out. But from Frank's comment, it seems I think they are already working with Agora.
Perfect. Look at that. We do have a question from Bill about Unity. So we're bringing Rick back up. Welcome, Rick. For the Unity SDK, is there an example project somewhere demonstrating getting raw audio access and bringing it back into Unity as an audio source?
Yes, indeed, we do have a example for this. I don't know if you are aware, we have an API example GitHub repo on our I can send you the link later, but we do have several examples. One is gathering the raw audio and save it to the. Okay, let me copy and paste the chat. Actually, here. Copy the raw audio from individual users, and then you can decide which one to go to which audio source. And you can also copy the whole remote users audio stream and put that into one audio source. There are several examples for that. Just go check our GitHub repo.
Awesome. And to go back, sorry, to go back to the previous question, our specialists came in and chimed in. So it seems like we have a reseller portal. I apologize. You don't need to be creating new projects. So please do reach out if you don't have access to that already and you're not working with the official reseller program. Please do reach out. I forget whose question that was, Emmanuel. So please feel free to reach out and we can provide access to a reseller portal as well, that your end customers can actually access as well. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Sid. Thanks, Rick. Carmelo asks, on the security authorization side, can we ensure that a still date valid token can be refused by the platform after the user has been banned? If the user is a hacker and saved the token he was using before he got kicked out. So while I'm not super familiar on how we can invalidate tokens, I'll leave that one to Shankara. We do have an API for, it's called kick rule, or banning and kicking users out of channels. So you can create programmatic rules on limiting users' access, either for short periods of time, long periods of time, that sort of thing. Shankara, Sid, feel free to jump in.
I'll just say with tokens that it's a best practice to set the expiration time to be small. During development, it's tempting to either leave it on default or to set it to 24 hours. And this is fine during development, but in production, you should be expiring tokens after 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and then fetching a new one and renewing it. You should not be creating long-lasting tokens.
Yep.
And that's both for the join privilege and the staying in channel privilege.
So as you should set them both low. Yeah. I'm trying to remember if we still have them separate or if we combine them, because I know at one point we're going to make it a single expiration time for all privileges. But in any case, yeah, you should set the expiration for whatever, either the privilege or the token itself, to something small.
Thanks, Shankara. Yeah.
Oops,
sorry, jump in there. Go for it.
Yeah. So just to add a bit more to this. So we've been, also working on similar problems with App Builder, and so I can provide some insight here. Is that like our server ban rule actually has two types of bans. One is like a user-specific ban, and one is a channel ban, right? Like that channel is closed and nobody can join the channel. So once you ban a user, what that means is that a UID is permanently banned. So when that happens, like all of the tokens associated with the UID also sort of kind of get banned, because there's no way that those things can get validated again when you send them to Agora server, because that UID won't work anymore. And this token that you generated cannot be used with any other UID. So that's sort of invalid. Just wanted to add that in.
Yep.
Okay, and I'll just add one other thing real quick. I did get confirmation on the side here that, yeah, it is still separated. So the privilege on the token itself, which allows you to join the channel, is a separate expiration time from the different privileges that you pack into the token. It would be an acceptable practice, still a best practice, if you wanted to set the token itself to a little longer, and then set the privileges, the individual privileges, to something very low. This would still be more secure than having a 24-hour token, obviously, for everything.
Makes sense.
Yeah, totally makes sense. you want to allow your backend to really have a lot of that control, and the best way to do that is through renewing and revalidating those tokens.
Yeah, and we do understand that revoking a token is a good feature to have in case you need to respond to some kind of incident or something in real time. And we will be releasing that in the future. We don't have it yet, but it is on the roadmap.
Awesome, thanks. We have another one from Emmanuel. Does creating a new token invalidate the previous one and consequently also the related session? So just by creating a token, it doesn't invalidate anything. But if you update the token with the server, does it invalidate the previous one, or does the server just assume that the previous one, expired and that's why you're updating?
As far as I understand, the token is good until it expires right now. So there's no way to sort of force the invalidation. No.
So the only way to force it probably would be to kick the user to invalidate their access across the board, basically.
You can ban them, yes. So
that's what I mean.
If you look under the console APIs in the doc section, there is a ban or a kicking API. I forgot what we called exactly. We've changed the verbiage over time. But it's basically you pass in the UID in some JSON payload, and you set a time to ban that user from the channel, and they won't be able to rejoin.
Speaking of the ban API, it is something that you should be very careful about, because using the ban API, you could easily completely ban anyone from ever joining a certain channel. So you can use the ban API. Let's say you have a streaming platform like an event. You have users that are subscribers. For whatever reason, they've walked away from their computer. They've left the stream open, right? This is kind of the nightmare situation of all developers. We hear this frequently. How do I work around my user left their client open? It's going to keep revalidating from the server. So first, make sure your token server understands session times. But let's say you don't have that level of sophistication. You could use the ban API to ban everyone from a certain channel for like 1 second. And what that'll do is it'll force drop everyone, and then no one will be able to join that channel for 1 second. If you miscalculate that time, you then basically make the channel inaccessible for whatever time you've set. And that applies to individual users or across the board to individual channels. Right, guys? Bye.
Yeah, no, I think you nailed it.
Right. So I'm going to butcher this name, and I really apologize. Hariam, when we mute video, then sometimes sorry. So the question is, when we mute video, then sometimes WebSDK doesn't trigger the user unpublished event on the remote client. Which, I'm assuming this is the 4.x SDK, because in 3.x, it's not user unpublished, it's mute video, I think is the callback. So Vineeth, do you want to jump in on this one? Because I think it is.
Right. Yeah. So on the 4.x, here's the thing, right? There are multiple things that happen, when you say mute a video. So on the 4.x SDK, the way this works is that you publish a track, into the channel, and then when you don't want, the track any longer, you can simply remove the track, unpublishing it, and your videos no longer there. So that's one way, and it's been the only way to do things in 4.x SDK up to just a month back. So we call all of these things set enables. But as of the recent version, we've also released mute as a specific API. So there are differences between these two APIs. What happens when you use the mute API is that your resources won't be sort of released from your system, and you'll have blank packets, or let's say if it's audio, you'll just have blank packets of audio. If it's a video, you'll have black color frames, right, going in. So that's a case that can happen if you use our latest mute video, mute APIs. But if you're using our set enabled APIs, then yes, that's going to actually pull you out from the stream, and you'll end up getting the stream removed event. Let's see, where was the? I'm just trying to.
Mute API is not working. Well, that one sounds like a bug, so please email us at devrel@agora.io. You might also want to file a support ticket to get that going, because if the mute API is not working as expected, we definitely want to flag that and get that.
Yeah, and it's probably a implementation issue. So yeah, definitely feel free to reach out devrel@agora.io or support. But we do use this in App Builder as well. So I think we tested it. It should be working. I think it's just a simple implementation issue. So we'd be happy to help you out. Hariom.
And then also help improve our documentation. So if anything is unclear there that's led you this way, we'll definitely want to make note of it. So.
Meanwhile, on the background, I'll do a quick search. I'm not sure if user unpublished is the right event that should get triggered when a user gets muted, right? Because when a user gets muted, the user is actually not unpublished. So you might actually not end up getting this event, and you might end up getting some other event reliably. But I'll just be sure and do a quick search, and I'll let you guys know in chat if there's something else for this. So, yeah.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Thanks, Vineeth. Frank, the old versions of SDKs may not work anymore in some. Oh, so Frank is asking, now that we're previewing the NG 4.x SDK, will the 3.x and the older ones, be sunsetted? Sid,
yeah.
You want to?
Yeah, definitely. Good question. They will be. So I don't want to lead you guys down the wrong path. We did release this new core engine because it will make every developer's experience, every end user's experience much better, much cleaner. So it will be sunset. 3.x will be sunset, but not for quite some time. I do see at least 12 to 18 months of support. We'll probably instill an end of life policy sometime next year, and 12 months to migrate, but not anytime soon. Long term, yes, 3.x will not remain. It'll have 4.x, the new core engine will be the standard.
And I think that's a very important point, that even when it is announced, it'll take another year to actually be sunsetted.
Exactly. Exactly. So I think it's at least we're at least 14 to 18 months out minimum. So I think you have some time.
Carmelo asks for docs.agora.io/RTC/RESTful API is for RTC. Does the same exist for RTM? I'm not aware, but maybe Shankara or Sid, do you know if we have a RESTful API for RTM right now?
That I don't know.
So we do have a RESTful API for RTM that is used for the same kind of functionality that the client-side SDK does. But if we're talking about the console APIs, it's probably something on the roadmap, but I'm not aware. Check with us in the DevRel channel. We'll get some answers.
Yeah, looks like the RESTful API for RTM is really user and channel events side. You get this XML file does not appear to have any style information. Yeah, that is not what you should be seeing. So yeah, definitely, Carmelo, reach out to us on Slack, and we'll get back to you. We need to understand a little bit more what functionality you're looking for, because there is a server-side component to RTM, but not something that mimics the RESTful API for RTC. So just let us know.
Right. And the peer messages and channel messages for RTM, I know we will support over REST. I don't know if it's been released yet or is in the public docs, but I believe it's in internal beta right now if it's not in the public docs.
Yep. Looks like Max just actually sent a link in the chat. So Carmelo, you may want to check that out as well.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, I think we cleared out the questions, but we still have a few more minutes. Any last calls for questions? Let's maybe check the chat as well. Oh, something came in. What is your favorite part? Tadas. Okay. You can feel free to join us on stage, man. But yeah, what is your favorite part of NG SDK? So everything. So, there's so much to love. I am particularly excited about the extension marketplace. As a developer, it takes weeks or months to integrate a specific solution, right? Research the solution, then understand how is it going to fit with the raw audio and video data, how is it going to come back to the channel, all of that intricacies, using the C++ layer itself to access the raw data. There's so much, right? So what we've done is extracted all of that hard work, and with just a few clicks of a button and a few lines of code, you can go ahead and embed any extension you want, from noise canceling to content moderation to face filters, you name it. So please do check that out if you haven't already. That's one. The second most, I think my second most favorite feature would be the 1080p 60 frames per second and 4K 30 frames per second support. I think as the future of RTE, I guess as RTE grows, right, from traditional, OTT kind of applications and use cases onto, more of a digital first mobile web or desktop support, it's going to be very crucial to have 1080p 60 frames per second for anything like esports, sports, gambling, all of that stuff. So I think I'm particularly excited about that and what, some of the quality apps that come out of it. So those two would be my top points.
I'll just add that my favorite part of the NG SDK is the refactored interface. So as developers, we all know that if we build something a second time and a third time, it's always better, right? It's never as good or as elegant the first time around. All those lessons learned and all the technical debt and everything gets to be paid and corrected in that refactor. So the new interface is definitely very elegant, and I would say from an architectural perspective, it's very nice to use.
I'm going to chime in also here. One of my favorite parts is actually seeing it come to market, because when we saw it 2 years ago in its early preview and just like seeing how the team was looking at all these lessons learned, like Shankara said, and how do you make it easier for the developer to customize and affect like the low-level APIs while still maintaining this high-level API consistency with previous versions that makes sense, and you're not like completely shifting everything on the developer. So for me, it's just seeing this come to market and how big of an improvement it is on past versions. Jerry asks, is there a performance boost in 4.0? So Sid, you want to?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, performance, we already talked about the resolution. I look at that as performance as well. You also will see, faster channel join time, faster channel switch, lower latency. So yes, there's definitely, definitely improvements there. So that's why we want people to try the developer preview. Again, I want to preference that 4.0.0 developer preview is, maybe buggy, but it's nothing going to be that's it won't deteriorate your user experience, end user experience. It may just be a little tricky to get up and running, but we have some very quality documentation with the UI kits as well, and with some of the new features that are added. So please do check out the developer preview. Try it out. Let us know. We want everybody's feedback and your transparent feedback. So please do chime in the Slack channel and help us get this to GA.
Yeah, thanks, Sid. We are getting up to time, and Monica asked a question a few minutes ago. So we brought Ekaansh, our resident React Native guru, along with Vineeth, our other resident React Native guru here, to answer Monica's question. With React Native, host minimized the app to check other apps, and the session was interrupted for them, and users. How can we avoid such a situation?
So if I understand correctly, you can use the gaming channel profile, which uses less CPU and like is better at decoding the stream. So it wouldn't be picked up as easily by the kernel to like remove your app from background. And if you're on iOS, especially, you'll have to make sure that you're passing in those flags so that your app isn't killed in the background state. So there's something in Xcode that you can do to set that up, and you probably have to check by depending on your use case, what is happening.
Right. So if I may chime in a bit, to add to this answer. So React Native app is just like any other native app, right? Like so, this consideration should be thought of like from an angle of like how do we approach this in Android and how do we approach this in iOS, and the solution to this specific problem, right? Like when you minimize something and it gets interrupted, like the solution to this varies platform by platform. On Android, at least, I can confidently say like you use something called foreground processes to usually like block your app from getting killed. So this might not be available as a ready-to-use React Native package, and this is something that will not be packaged in Agora. So what you can do is like like first of all, the easiest, the most obvious solution is to just like write that part in Android, right? Like to put your service, to put your app in the as a foreground service. So you'll get a persistent notification in your phone, and this won't be killed. Like even if you take your app to the background, nothing's gonna happen. But then if you don't know Android, and you're a React Native developer, the best bet is like finding a library in npm which does it for you. There are possibilities that you'll easily find it, and there's also possibilities that you might not find it. React Native is a human community.
There's one called React Native Keep Awake, so maybe you can check that out as well.
So for iOS, like I'm not the expert here, so I'll let someone else more qualified answer on iOS side. But yeah, there are like similar approaches to do the same.
Monica, give it a shot, and if it doesn't work or you run into struggles, please reach out, devrel@agora.io. We are pretty much at time, but Frank did ask a question, so I want to make sure that we are cognizant of everyone. Is it possible for your SDK to be open source, such as Web SDK? Frank, while open source projects are awesome and we love to contribute to the community, our wrapper SDKs, such as UIKit, are open source, while our main SDKs are, unfortunately for your question, they're closed source and proprietary technology. That being said, most of the stuff that's in the SDK itself is all about just connecting to the Agora network. It is more about just providing that simple pipe, so you really don't want people going in there and messing with that kind of code. That being said, if you want to control the rendering and the camera capture and all that, you can simply do that with Agora and allow Agora to be just like the transportation pipeline, so you can get as much transparency into the building and decoding of the frames as you want. And that's about as much as I can offer you in terms of giving you that control to have everything that's being put into the frame be something that you intend to be there. Anyone else want to jump in?
No, I think you nailed it. But going back to Hermes' first point, we do have a bunch of UI kits, and for example, in your particular question for web, we have a React wrapper that actually Ekaansh wrote. You can always feel free to file a PR there if you're interested in contributing to any of our libraries that are on GitHub. Those are all open source, so please do take the liberty to make any edits or anything like that you need and file a PR.
Perfect. Thanks, Sid. Thank you, everyone. We are at time, so I want to be cognizant of the other sessions going on, and thank everyone for asking questions. Thank you, the Agora team, for answering everyone's questions. Please feel free to reach out, devrel@agora.io. We are here to answer your questions and help you on this journey. We're in this together, and the thing that keeps Agora going is our developers, so we're here for you, and we're here to help you. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you next time.